Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack something absolutely vital for anyone stepping into the professional world. And this is especially true if you're a budding engineer. We are looking at a really fascinating blueprint for interpersonal skills and ethics. You know, we spend so much time perfectly balancing equations, memorizing all these technical formulas, and learning insanely complex software. But what actually happens when you have to work with other humans to bring those technical marvels to life? Well, that is exactly what this material is designed to answer. It's an exciting, super comprehensive blueprint that basically bridges the gap between being a technical genius and actually achieving real-world professional success.
Right off the bat, I've got a question for you to chew on. What is the missing link in a budding engineer's toolkit? Just think about that for a second. Are technical skills alone enough to build a really cohesive, highly functional team? Like, are your coding or CAD skills going to help you navigate a massive moral dilemma when your project timeline is getting squeezed and budgets are literally non-existent? The argument we're looking at here is that technical prowess is honestly only half the equation. The missing link, the actual secret sauce that gets projects across the finish line and builds a lasting career, is your human toolkit.
So, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Engineering your human skills. 2. The interpersonal toolkit. 3. The moral compass. And finally, 4. Putting skills into practice. Let's see how this all transforms dry theory into total job readiness.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Engineering Your Human Skills, the Foundation of Job Readiness. Just like any solid construction project you'd ever work on, your career needs an incredibly strong foundation.
Think of these as your core foundations: problem solving and critical thinking, creativity and resourcefulness, enhanced communication, and self and team management. Now, a lot of times people call these soft skills, which, let's be real, kind of makes them sound optional or even a bit fluffy. But mastering these elements, it's absolutely crucial. Before you can manage a massive infrastructure project or launch some revolutionary new app, you've got to be able to creatively solve problems with the actual resources you have on hand, and you have to communicate your vision. It's the bedrock for succeeding, not just at work, but honestly in your personal life too.
So what's the end game here? Where does building this foundation actually lead? Well, the ultimate goal is increased productivity and job readiness. The development of self-management and ethical awareness is explicitly linked to this really pragmatic, real-world result. It's not just about being, a pleasant person to work with, it is about being highly effective. When you actually understand your social responsibilities and can manage yourself and your team well, productivity just naturally skyrockets. You become fully, genuinely ready for the modern workplace.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Interpersonal Toolkit, Building Your Structural Pillars. Now that our foundation is poured, we need some very specific tools to actually get the job done.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these specific tools, effective leadership, team building, time management, assertiveness, conflict management, and negotiation, actually work together. Let's frame this as a quick mini-story. Imagine you're on a massive engineering project. You've used team building to get everyone together, right? But suddenly, bam, the project completely stalls because two different departments fundamentally disagree. That is exactly where conflict management jumps in to get things moving again. Then you realize you're short on resources, so negotiation gets it funded. You use assertiveness to hold your ground on, say, crucial safety standards, and time management ensures you still hit that crazy deadline. These are not just corporate buzzwords, they're the active mechanisms you're going to use every single day.
And underpinning all of those specific tools is one massive, overarching concept: emotional intelligence, or EQ. Think of EQ as the power source or the engine for everything we just talked about. It's the foundational capacity to navigate, lead, and resolve conflicts effectively and ethically. Without it, your leadership falls completely flat, your team building feels totally forced, and your negotiations just become these cold transactional arguments instead of collaborative wins. EQ is the true engine powering a budding engineer's toolkit.
Okay, up next is Section 3, the Moral Compass, Ethics in Interpersonal Relations. Because, let's face it, having a highly effective toolkit is pretty useless and honestly sometimes even dangerous if you don't have a compass to guide how you use it.
So the crucial point here is looking at the difference between standard and ethical decision-making. Standard decision-making might just focus on the absolute fastest or cheapest way to get a job done. But ethical and inclusive decision-making? That elevates your work to a much higher professional level. Inclusive decision-making means you're constantly considering the impact on society, the long-term safety of the end users, and the well-being of your diverse team. It's a total perspective shift. You're going from just asking, hey, can we build this, to asking, wait,
Should we build this, and how do we do it responsibly?
And actually, these concepts are totally intertwined. Ethics in relation to your emotional quotient. What this means in the real world is that true emotional intelligence isn't just about reading a room so you can, manipulate an outcome to get what you want. Not at all. True EQ requires a profound ethical awareness toward other individuals and toward society as a whole. You literally cannot be genuinely emotionally intelligent without also being ethically grounded. They go hand in hand in the modern professional landscape.
Finally, Section 4, putting skills into practice, the completed blueprint. It's time to take all this great theory and connect it directly to the real world.
Okay, here is where the rubber meets the road. We've got some self-learning mandates, following industry leaders on social media, reading up on corporate ethics, and focusing heavily on social responsibility. You really have to take ownership of this stuff. Don't just sit around waiting for someone to hand you a textbook. Get out there. See how actual experts are navigating corporate ethics right now. Look at how top-tier companies are handling their social responsibilities. That active, daily engagement is exactly how you bridge the gap between classroom theory and real-world execution. And this brilliantly illustrates how you can easily do this. Listen to podcasts that discuss ethics, communication, and interpersonal skills. The source material specifically calls out shows like the TED Radio Hour or How I Built This. I absolutely love this detail because it grounds all these high-level academic learnings in popular, super accessible content. It's asking you to absorb these big discussions on entrepreneurship and ethics and then bring that knowledge into a group discussion. You're anchoring the theory with real stories of success, failure, and moral dilemmas before you ever step into a practice scenario.
Let's walk through this step-by-step progression. Step 1, applying these interpersonal skills in practical, everyday tasks. Think report presentations or drafting standard operating procedures, SOPs, and doing all of that in a respectful, inclusive way. Then Step 2 turns up the heat a bit. You participate in time-bound group discussions, or GDs, that raise actual ethical and moral concerns. And finally, Step 3, the ultimate goal, resolving social problems while working in diverse teams. So you're literally growing from drafting standard business documents to collaboratively resolving complex, real-world issues.
Let's zoom in on that final outcome for a second. Ultimate mastery. This requires you to apply empathetic and effective speaking skills, utilize ethical values and principles, and work effectively within a diverse team. Do you see how all the individual puzzle pieces come together here? The communication, the EQ, the ethics, the teamwork. All of this is ultimately designed not just to get you a promotion, but to empower you to tackle and resolve complex social problems collectively. And honestly, that is the true mark of a fully realized professional.
So, wrapping this all up, based on everything we've unpacked today, from the foundational communication tools to that critical moral compass and the real-world applications, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you ready to use your skills to resolve the social problems of tomorrow? You've got the blueprint now. The theory is laid out, the self-learning mandates are clear, the next step is entirely up to you. Go out and build it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I highly encourage you to start assembling and applying your human toolkit today. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.